Hey Rob, we're back.
All
How
right.
you
Hey,
doing?
Nance, how's it going?
Good, good. How was Father's Day?
Oh, couldn't have been better. It was great. Great.
Good, awesome.
Yeah.
I love summer and I love that the days are long and we have lots of opportunities to do fun things. What's your favorite thing about summer?
Actually, favorite thing about summer for me is going to the Hollister concerts, working there with all my buddies and then seeing all the people come in and everyone having a good time. It's probably my favorite thing. It's a lot of fun. That and going to the lake, but it's a lot of fun seeing everybody.
Yeah. And the concerts are, can you share a little bit about what they are for those people who don't know?
They're in different concerts we have in town at Hollister concerts at the Guerra Vineyards. And so my wife and her family kind of run them. And so me and some friends help out and just do whatever needs to be done. It's a lot of fun. And my kids. So
And the cool thing is it's kind of like they're all sort of cover bands of
yeah,
big famous bands that you would know.
yeah, exactly. And it's right here in town and the venue is unbelievable. So it's a lot of work, but it's fun working with your whole family and putting on an event. I remember we were going to be event coordinators one day, but
And we were,
so
we were, we
so
still
that's what
maybe, we still
yeah,
maybe.
it's still
You're
maybe
just
that's why I
you're
like it.
getting you're getting a little experience under your
Yeah,
belt for
exactly.
that
Before I
for
branch out.
our future. Yeah, yeah. Well, for me, I just love, like I said, the long days. I think you can have a lot of adventures in the summer that maybe you wouldn't have when the days are shorter and the weather's not as good. And I'm looking forward to I'm going to be heading to upstate New York and meeting up with Cousin Leo, and we're going to drive up to Niagara Falls, and then we're going to hit Canada for a few days and meet a friend up there. So that's
Oh,
what I'm
awesome. That'll
looking
be a
forward
blast.
to. Yeah, and as you know, we're gonna have him as a special guest at the end of this Robcast. So for those of you watching, hang on till the end. But right now, we're just gonna get hop right into it. I know last time we talked about, this is credit part two, and last time we talked about credit no-nos. And people can go to realestaterobcast.com to get to that previous one, our part one on credit no-nos. But today we're going to talk about more kind of positive things, what we can do to build our credit and what we can do to actually pay down some debt so that we can, again, build our credit and end up getting to buy a home. Um, so kind of like fast tracking, streamlining, and overall improving your buying process by getting yourself into a better position financially. But before we get into all those positive things, I just want to recap from last time to remind us what not to do. What are some of those things that can jeopardize a buyer's ability to get a loan?
Yeah, kind of like what we talked about last week. Buying something in the middle of your approval process. Obviously not making your payments during that time, and even just charging up what you currently have. If you have a credit card, charging that balance up during your home buying process before you close are all three things that can really hurt your score during that time frame.
Okay. And when you say buying something, you mean buying a big thing like
Yeah.
buying a car or buying furniture.
Yep.
It's anything that where you would be taking out debt and that your credit would be run, or just on your regular credit cards you already have charging them up.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. And you guys, right before the final, like right before we go to the signing table, you guys do one last kind of credit check or something
Yep.
like that, right?
Yep. You do that. It's called a soft pull to see if you did any of those things during the time we ran your credit. And so, if something comes up like that, that could jeopardize the whole transaction.
Okay. Okay. So sometimes, I mean, I'm just thinking of this. I'm just thinking even about like kind of earlier in the process on a pre-approval. Let's say you're working with a buyer and you pre-approve them for X amount of money. And then it takes them a while to find that house that they're looking for. And
Mhm.
maybe we're placing offers and we're not getting it because there's multiple offers and something like that. And then if during that time they start charging and adding things onto their overall kind of credit picture, then that could be a problem for when we do get an acceptance.
Yeah, and that would kind of depends on how long that process is. Sometimes we'll have to rerun your credit right away to get started. It just depends on how long that process is. We try and tell our clients, these things up front, and so that they know that. But sometimes life happens and they do spend that money. But if it's a short amount of time, it's not then we don't need to rerun it. But if, if it's been 90 days or so, then we say, hey, we're going to rerun your credit to make sure that this pre-approval is still good.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm thinking about those times when we're like going months and months and months and keep trying to get something and we can't get in there. Okay. What are 3 best practices for maintaining and or improving our credit scores?
So I think this kind of answers the question. One thing for a younger person, what I've told people to do, or people just trying to get going with their credit, is go get a Target card or a gas card, something that is a place that you're going to go to all the time and use all the time. Go there and just use that one card and just pay it off every time you use it. Go ahead and charge it at Target, and then on the first of the month, pay it off. And so you just get in that habit. What that'll do is that'll help build up it gives you history. You've had a history of doing it. You don't need a bunch of cards, but if you do that consistently, then, if you're new, maybe your limit is only $250. Well, after 6 months, you've proven that you could charge $250 and pay it off each month. Then ask them to increase your limit. Still only use the 250, but ask them to increase your limit so that you can get higher limits on it. Why I say that is because then once you have these higher limits, so best practice number 2 is keep your balances at half of your limit. Try and keep them at half your limit at all times. That way, whenever we do run your credit, you don't have to pay anything down or work on getting in that. If you're consistently at 50% of your limit,
or less.
Yeah, less is better, obviously, but at 50% or less, you have that leeway. The third thing I would say is, and this is what I try and do, is set up as many of your bills that you have currently on auto pay, and that they're automatically coming out, so you don't have to constantly worry about making the payments on it. If it's already set up to come out on the first, or set everything up you can, and then check your bank account to make sure that those bills came out. Sometimes we have issues where it's on auto pay and then they switch banks and they forget. Well, that's a late payment. That's on you. So if you set it up on auto pay, just manage your account with the bank. Okay.
And that does happen. I had that situation recently with a fraud, and then all your auto pays get kind of thrown off. So if you do have a situation like that, really setting aside time, a few hours to get all those cards recalibrated and get the updated numbers to your auto pay vendors. And what are for example, one of them that came up was the gym. The gym called and said your card didn't work. So, but the gym if I don't pay at the gym, of course, that's not a good thing, but it's not going to necessarily affect my credit or being able to get a loan, right? So what are the first ones that I want to do to make sure that I set those up correctly, that would actually affect my credit score?
Well, your main one is your mortgage. If you currently have a mortgage, I mean, it's very difficult to get a loan if you have a 30-day late on your mortgage within the last 12 months. I mean, obviously there's ways you can, but it makes it much more difficult. And then you kind of go down the line, then your car loans, your installment debts, and then your credit cards. Okay. And those are the places that report to the credit bureaus. Okay. I mean, like I said, you do want to make sure you pay your gym membership, but if you can't afford your credit card or your gym membership, you want to go with your credit card first. And sorry to the gym owners. Even rent, rent is not reported to the credit bureaus. Now, that doesn't mean most people, almost everybody will get a verification of rent. And so if you haven't been on time, we're going to see that from your landlord. So it's not going to affect your credit per se, but it could affect your approval process. So don't misunderstand that I'm saying don't pay your rent. It's just, that's not a credit.
Okay. Got it.
Deterrent.
I know this sounds really weird, but I'm gonna take 1 second because my heater is on and there's noise in the background. I know it's
Okay.
June in Monterey, but I just gotta turn that off real quick. Okay. I don't know if you could hear that, but it was buzzing in my ear. All right. So the last thing that we're going to talk about today is something that I am super duper excited about. And it's basically, we're going to talk about side hustles that anyone can do to make extra money, to pay off debt, and to improve their credit score. Because there are some people that you work with where you just can't even really pre-approve them because their balances are too high on their credit cards, or their overall total debt picture is just, it's not going to be feasible for them to get a home loan at this point. Right.
Yep, totally.
And so when that happens, you kind of go through a little bit of a coaching and come up with a plan for them to pay those down and then be able to, reconvene in 90 days or whenever it is.
Yep.
Okay.
Or even,
So,
or even, Nance, even 30 days. What we do is when we run somebody's credit, we'll get their 3 credit scores from the bureaus. Okay. On there, it'll give us our score. So let's say I run Nancy Nino's credit score and it'll say she'll have a 680, 670 and a 690. But it'll also on that same report give me her potential score. Okay. And what she can do with her potential, what she could do to potentially get her score up.
cool.
And we do that a lot. And so
Okay.
we'll put it in the system. Now it's not 100%, and it tells you, hey, this is 94% likely. This is 96% likely. And, most of the time, almost all the time, the advice is pay down this, this, and this, and this is how much you need to pay down on each one of these things.
Oh,
And
that's
then if you do that, you're able to get a letter from, let's say it was from Capital One and you owed $4,000 and my advice on this was to get it down to 2,500 or let's be 1,700 under 50%. You would go pay that off, give me a letter or an updated statement from them, said, hey, look at my balance is 1,700. Then we would go to the credit bureaus and what's called a rapid rescore, and your score went from a 680 to a 700. Now your pricing's better.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So we can
Wow.
do that. A lot of times we'll do that in the middle of a transaction. You're in contract. Now your score was 680. You're in contract. You have 45 days to close or 30 days to close, and we can do that in the middle. So instead of you getting a rate at 6 7/8, you get a rate at 6.625.
Wow. Which
So
is huge for lowering your monthly payment.
totally. Yep.
Oh, that's so great. That's so cool. Wow. Okay. Awesome. Lots to think about here. One thing I just thought of, this is not a side hustle, but I just thought of that because having taken Dave Ramsey classes in the past and, you might think, well, how am I going to pay off all this debt? Like I have all this debt. How am I going to pay off all this debt? Yeah, I can do a little side hustle and make $20 here and there, but there's other things probably that you see and that people have that you could actually make a huge dent. So for example, let's say you have a really beautiful Ford F-150 truck that you have a really big payment on and you love that truck. It's the best, but you really, really want to buy a house. Well, maybe, rather than having, holding off on the F-150, selling that, getting out from under that payment, getting a reliable but less expensive truck for now, and then kind of looking at that once you're in your house.
Yep. It happens all the time.
Okay. So big cars like that. Any other ideas aside from, we'll get into side hustles, but other things that your clients are doing to kind of rapidly pay off debt?
No, just selling, just like what you said, selling maybe little luxury items, maybe would be the right word. Items they didn't really need to what they wanted, but didn't really need. And realizing that, especially out here where we're at, where everything's so expensive, hey, maybe I don't get to have that RV or that trailer anymore. I'm going to go get that money and I'm going to either use it as a down or pay down my debt so that I can, or not even have that debt. you know, a lot of times it's just getting rid of that debt itself, even
Oh, interesting.
if it's just a wash. We just had a guy he liked Jeeps and he had a lot of Jeeps, and he realized his family needed a home. So he sold 3 of his Jeeps, and he didn't get any money from them, but he was able to wipe out all that debt that he didn't have to pay anymore.
Okay, that's a good point too. Yeah. And in this thing that we're going to be talking about these side hustles too, even if you do pay down all let's say you have no debt, well, then that money's just going towards down payment, closing costs,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Just, yeah. And to get into that habit, and then the future, maybe it's going to, college fund or whatever it is, all the different expenses that we have.
Right.
Positive, buying stocks, et cetera. All right, so some ideas I came up with, and I want you to jump in here because I know you have your kids have some little side hustles that they do too. So number 1, driving Uber. Some people might not be comfortable with that, but for those who are, that's just something you can do on your time. If maybe not, I don't know how much of a market it is in Hollister. Maybe it's not as much of a market because it's smaller, but here on the peninsula, I think there's a lot of, oftentimes I'll take Ubers just for one reason or another. Let's say you're not into Uber, there's Uber delivery. So you don't want to have people in your car that you don't know and all that. Totally understand that. I wouldn't want to do that, but you can do Uber delivery where you can, deliver food and do other little delivery things. There's something that I think is very interesting. I've even considered it myself, but I haven't pulled the trigger. It's called the Rover app, and you can do dog walking or pet sitting or, other sort of animal pet kind of things that you can do for people. And just for fun, I've looked in Monterey, and there's some people, like young kids have you set your own prices because you're your own boss in the Rover app. So there's some younger, like teenagers, that are charging $17 a walk. And then there's some older people that are charging $40 a walk. So that might be something to do. House cleaning, I'm talking about not like a regular house cleaning where you do every week, but maybe like one-off deals. Like for realtors, you can do clean houses for realtors when they have new listings, to prep them for listing. Or if there's someone who has vacation rentals, you can do the kind of turnover cleaning for vacation rentals. Do you want to share a little bit about that and what your girls have done?
Yeah, my girls have done that for a couple houses where houses need to be cleaned for the weekend for an open house, and realtors called me and asked, hey, would your girls come clean the house? And so they went and bought all their own supplies and went and did that, and they made a few extra bucks, and they were pretty excited about it, and they got to do it on their time, and so they were excited about that. Was extra money that they didn't have from their regular jobs. Another one I was thinking about, which is kind of random, but my son did it down in San Luis Obispo, is he would umpire baseball games. And so he would go and just umpire baseball games, and he likes baseball. He's not playing it anymore. And he would go ump and make a few bucks doing that. So that was one I was just thinking of the other day. He loved it and he got paid.
Yeah.
And he has bills
God
that he
bless
got to
him.
pay off.
That's a thankless job.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a separate issue, but yes, on the baseball or basketball or volleyball, just anything. And it is a thankless job, but there is some fun in it too. So,
and if you're a sports person too, and again, kind of on your schedule, so in something that you can have a regular job and you can still go. A lot of those guys that we see umpiring your kids and my nieces and nephews games, they have other jobs, but they're doing that on the side, or maybe they're even retired. So, another thing is a side job that earns tips, like a restaurant server or a bartender. We have a niece that, works, she has a full-time job, but works on the side. A couple weekends ago, she made $500 in tips one Friday night. Doesn't hurt.
Right.
So, another thing is, TaskRabbit. I don't know how popular it is here, but, it's kind of a nationwide thing where, again, if you have a skill, like if you have handy skills or you will do errands for people, different little things that you do, you can sign up with TaskRabbit. And I have like a electric, what is it? Like the Ring doorbell, but I don't know how to fix those. I don't know how to set those things up. And I was like, oh, maybe someone on TaskRabbit can set that up for me. There wasn't anybody nearby that is on TaskRabbit for that particular skill. But again, if you have a skill like that, especially if you're handy or like mechanical and can put things together, I think that's a great thing to hop on. Technical skills, if you know how to do graphic artists, if you're do graphic artwork, if you know how to do social media or coding or editing, there's a couple of websites that you can go onto. One's called Fiverr, one's called Upwork, and you can sign up as a contractor on those sites, and you can offer those services. Literally for over a decade, I've used both of those sites to have people help me with different things that I needed with that. And then our last couple that we're going to talk about, we're going to bring in Cousin Leo. This is it's an Uber story, but it's really, really fascinating. Cousin Leo always is great for good ideas. So we're going to bring him on to the ROBcast to tell his story. And then at the end, as he's getting on here, at the end, I will put together a list of all of these things for anybody who's watching the ROBcast, and they will be able to have that list at their disposal. Hi, Cuz. It's taking a little bit. You on there, Cuz?
I'm
There
here.
you are. Okay. So this is Cousin Leo. He lives in upstate New York. He's thebirthdayguy.com. So you can go check that out on your own time if you're interested.
Yes, on your own time.
On your own time, not now. Right now we're on the ROBcast. We brought you on to just kind of share. I'm going to figure out how to spotlight you. To just share what you are doing, what your latest scheme is for Ubering to pay off your car loan.
Yes, I got a car loan on April 17th, $497 a month for 6 years. And I did a little math in my head and I figured out I don't want to be 62 years old with a 9-year-old car that's worth $2,000. So I just sat down and did some math and figured out that if I pay just $75 a day on this car, I'll have it paid off in less than a year and I'll save $10,000 in interest. So that's what I've been doing since April 18th, the day after I took delivery of the car. I started paying $65 a day because I wasn't sure if they would make me make the monthly big payments. But when I found out they would not, I changed it to $75 a day. And as I say, it's going to get me paid off at sometime in March of next year. Most of the days I'm able to use the car to earn that money, which is something that probably a lot of people don't have the time to do. But the lesson for people, I tell people that I'm doing this now, and they say, "You're so smart. You're so smart." And I say, "Well, yeah, I got to be 56 before I was this smart. So I'm not going to pat myself on the back too much, but it's really an amazing thing when you sit down. I call it fun with amortization tables. Just sit down and figure out how much paying $20 extra on whatever loan you have can really add up when it's all being applied to principal. So yeah, it's just a fun thing that I decided to do back in April, and it's really paying off. This is the actually second month I've owned the car, or 2 months I've owned the car, and I paid back over $4,000. So I'm well ahead of the game.
That's just amazing. So you're going to save $10,000 in interest. You're using the car itself to earn the money, basically.
Right.
So you're driving Uber. And then you had mentioned too, you'll likely improve your credit score for paying off this debt so quickly.
Would think so. I'm not the credit expert, but I've already paid, according to one of my credit reports, I've already paid off 12% of the car in 2 months. And so I think that's rather unusual. And my credit score has been inching up. So I think it's working.
It's amazing. And then one other thing, can you tell us about another little side hustle that you do on Mother's Day and Valentine's Day?
On Valentine's Day, I call it disappointing more women than usual. Several years ago, a friend of mine mentioned that she was delivering flowers for a local florist on Mother's Day and Valentine's Day because they get so overwhelmed, their one truck isn't enough to handle all the business. So 5 or 6 years ago, I just started delivering flowers on Valentine's Day and typically the Saturday before Mother's Day. And obviously, every florist is different. I make $10 a delivery. I usually can do 30 or 40 in one day. So that can, apply to the car. That really helps. And I call it disappointing more women than usual, because typically for Valentine's Day, you're walking into an office with a bouquet of flowers and all the ladies light up until you say a name. And then the rest of them look disappointed. So come Mother's Day, come Valentine's Day, if you're looking for a little extra money, just call your local florist and see if they need any help. And you might be surprised they could use you.
Well, thank you, Cousin. You're always good for a good story and a good adventure. And Rob, any from a lending perspective, anything to add on his little Uber thing and how that helps?
No, nothing to add, but it's pretty phenomenal. I love it.
But
Thank you
that's
very much.
something that people who are trying to get a home loan could do. And even if it was just not even 75 a day, even if it was just 25 bucks a day, 50 bucks a day, I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yep.
I saw a video the other day, and I didn't run the math, but I believe it's true. It was a gentleman talking to a younger person, and he said on his 30-year mortgage, he made one extra payment a month. One extra payment a year, applied entirely to principal, and his 30-year mortgage became a 17-year mortgage. Right? That sounded a lot to me, but I know paying one extra mortgage payment a year can really knock it down.
Yep, definitely.
Well, gentlemen, it's been fun. Any closing remarks for our viewers here today?
No, enjoyed the day.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
awesome. Well, thank you guys both. Leo, thanks for flying in from the east to give us your little words of wisdom. And
My
we'll
pleasure.
catch you all at the next ROBcast.
Thanks, Nance. Thanks, Leo.
Okay.
Thank you.
You
Take care,
bet.
guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys.